We told you the story of the hydration break before. The doctors who wanted it longer, the players who hated it, the coaches who quietly fell in love with it, and $250 million in advertising money that explains why it has not gone away. This week, FIFA finally responded to weeks of booing, furious coaches, and fans being force-fed commercials in the middle of World Cup matches. And their response is, genuinely, one of the most remarkable things this organization has produced all tournament. FIFA has announced that it will analyze the hydration breaks. That is the response. The organization that created the most unpopular rule of this entire World Cup is now going to launch a careful, considered review of itself. Let that sit with you for a moment. The breaks that almost nobody asked for, that almost everybody currently despises, are going to be reviewed by the exact same people who invented them in the first place. I think we all already know how this particular investigation is going to end, but let's go through it properly anyway, because what FIFA President Gianni Infantino actually said this week, while defending these breaks, deserves to be heard in full. A quick reminder of where things stand. FIFA built a mandatory 3-minute break into every single match at this World Cup. Twice a game, once in the 22nd minute of the first half, once in the 67th minute of the second. The reaction across the sport has been close to universal. Players do not want it. Coaches, publicly at least, do not want it. Fans dislike it so intensely that stadium crowds have taken to booing the referee the moment he signals for the stoppage to begin. England manager Thomas Tuchel said plainly that it interrupts and changes the entire identity of a match. Uruguay's Marcelo Bielsa, one of the most respected coaching minds in the entire sport, said that splitting football into quarters adds nothing of value and takes away a great deal. Even the coaches who publicly support the breaks can only really manage a half-hearted defense. Spain's Luis de la Fuente has said it is fine in genuine heat, while still openly questioning why on earth matches are being stopped in cool weather, inside climate-controlled, closed-roof stadiums. And that detail is exactly where the official explanation falls apart. The stated reason for these breaks is player welfare, heat protection. And to be completely fair, when conditions are genuinely dangerous, when players are visibly struggling in extreme temperatures, nobody sane argues against giving them 30 seconds of water. If it is 40 degrees Celsius outside, protect the athletes. Everyone agrees with that, instinctively and immediately. But that is not what has actually been happening across this tournament. England's match against Ghana was played in entirely comfortable temperatures. The game was still stopped. Matches played indoors in Atlanta, under a closed roof, with air conditioning actively running, in a building where the temperature is being controlled by machines, were still paused for 3 minutes, twice, to protect players from heat that, inside that stadium, simply does not exist. So the "it's about the heat" explanation already has a significant hole in it. And when critics pointed that out publicly, Infantino reached for a second argument. This is where things get genuinely remarkable. Infantino's central defense is something he calls equal conditions. His reasoning works like this. If FIFA only used hydration breaks during genuinely hot matches and skipped them during cooler matches, then a coach managing a team in the heat would get a 3-minute window to make tactical adjustments mid-half, while a coach in a cooler match would not get that same opportunity. And that, in Infantino's view, would be unfair. So, to keep things equal for every team, FIFA stops every single match. Read that reasoning again, slowly. Because Infantino has just talked himself directly into a corner without seeming to notice. He is worried that giving a coach a 3-minute window to reorganize his team mid-half is such a significant competitive advantage that it needs to be standardized across all 104 matches at this tournament, which is FIFA's own president openly admitting, in his own words, that these breaks function as tactical timeouts. The exact thing critics have been arguing for weeks, that this is an American-style timeout, quietly inserted into football for the first time in its history. Infantino just confirmed it himself, while attempting to defend the policy. He is not denying that it operates as a coaching break. He is arguing that it is such a powerful coaching break that fairness requires every single team to receive one. He argued the opposing side's entire case for them, in real time, on camera. But the real masterpiece, the single line that deserves a standing ovation for its audacity, is still to come. Infantino looked directly at the football world and insisted that FIFA makes absolutely no additional money from these breaks. None. Zero. No extra revenue whatsoever. There is no additional revenue for FIFA, he said, as all commercial agreements were signed well in advance, so this is not a financial issue for us. For us, it is purely a sporting matter. His reasoning is that the broadcast contracts were all finalized before the decision to introduce hydration breaks, so FIFA itself is not personally pocketing any new money from the advertisements running during these stoppages. Let's actually deal with that claim because it deserves scrutiny. Industry experts who priced out exactly what these advertising slots are worth found that a single 30-second commercial during this World Cup, airing on Fox Sports, costs between $200,000 and $300,000. That figure climbs to as much as $750,000 during United States national team matches and the tournament's later stages. Add all of that together, and the advertising running specifically during these hydration breaks is expected to generate more than $250 million in the United States market alone. $250 million in advertising inventory, created essentially out of thin air, the moment FIFA decided to mandate a stoppage twice in every single match. Now, is Infantino, on a narrow technical reading, correct that FIFA itself does not see a direct cut of this new money because the broadcast deals were already signed? Perhaps, narrowly, yes. But FIFA negotiates those broadcast deals. FIFA sells those broadcasting rights. A tournament product that suddenly contains $250 million of brand new advertising space is worth measurably more the next time those contracts come up for negotiation. And Infantino knows this perfectly well. When directly asked about broadcasters profiting from the arrangement, he shrugged and said, "Broadcasters, maybe they generate more. I don't know. That's great for them. That's great for them." He created the advertising inventory. He handed it directly to his broadcast partners. And he is describing the entire outcome as a coincidence he is only mildly aware of. So let's lay this out plainly, because the situation is genuinely stark. The players do not want this. The coaches, broadly, do not want this. The fans are audibly booing it in stadiums across this tournament, and FIFA insists, repeatedly, that it is not making a cent from any of it. Which leaves one simple question. If literally nobody wants this, and nobody by FIFA's own account is making any money from it, then why does it exist at all? Why is the most watched sporting event on the entire planet being interrupted twice every half for something that, according to the people who created it, benefits nobody? Because the honest answer is the one Infantino will never say out loud. Somebody is making money. The tactical timeout admission is already out in the open, and $250 million in fresh advertising inventory does not simply appear by accident. Which brings us back to this so-called analysis. Because once you read the actual fine print of what Infantino said this week, it becomes clear this review is not what it first appears to be. FIFA is not analyzing whether to remove these breaks. Infantino said specifically that FIFA will study the experience from this tournament and consider keeping hydration breaks for future World Cups. He is not reviewing whether this was a mistake. He is reviewing how to justify making it permanent. And he has already begun lining up the new explanation. Suddenly, in the space of about 1 week, the breaks are no longer purely about heat. Now, Infantino is suggesting they might actually be making the football itself better. His words. Maybe the coach can reassess certain situations, correct certain mistakes. The players get a little rest and come back at full speed. Is that necessarily bad? Maybe it's good. He has started crediting these breaks for the high intensity of matches at this tournament, suggesting that the genuinely fast, attacking pace fans have enjoyed across these 104 games might be connected to the very stoppages that those same fans have been booing. In the space of a single week, the official explanation evolved from, "It's purely about player heat protection," to, "It might actually be improving the entire sport." This is the trap, laid out in full. FIFA introduces a deeply unpopular policy. Almost everyone hates it. FIFA promises to analyze it properly. And surprise, an analysis conducted by FIFA about FIFA's own idea, reviewing whether FIFA should continue doing the exact thing FIFA already clearly wants to keep doing, concludes that the breaks are actually wonderful. Good for player welfare, good for the quality of football, likely staying for the next World Cup in 2030. When the accused party, the investigator, and the judge are all the same organization, you do not really need to wait for the verdict. You already know what it will say. Here is the truth sitting underneath all of this. There is a version of player hydration breaks that almost everybody could genuinely live with. A short, honest cooling break, used only in genuinely dangerous heat, at the referee's own discretion. Exactly the way football managed this for decades before FIFA ever got involved. 30 seconds of water when players are visibly struggling in extreme conditions. That is legitimate player welfare. That is simply good sense applied to sport. What we have instead is a mandatory 3-minute stoppage in every match, indoors and outdoors, in extreme heat and in air-conditioned comfort alike. An advertising stuffed quarter break that a significant portion of the football world is actively asking FIFA to abandon, and which FIFA is now reviewing with the fairly obvious intention of keeping permanently. FIFA is going to investigate the hydration breaks, and FIFA is going to find FIFA almost entirely innocent. So tell me what you think. Do you believe a single word of Infantino's claim that FIFA makes zero additional revenue from this? Or is the $250 million figure doing all of the talking that Infantino refuses to do himself? Drop your honest verdict in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe to When Football Speaks if you want someone keeping score every time FIFA marks its own homework. I will see you in the next one.